Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm bringing you a story that starts with a laugh, a challenge, and a millionaire who thought he had everything figured out until one young woman's unexpected reply changed everything. So sit back, relax, and let's dive right into this unbelievable moment that proves money isn't the only thing that can leave someone speechless. It all began on a warm afternoon in a busy outdoor market, the kind filled with colorful stalls, music in the air, and the chatter of people bargaining for everything from jewelry to fresh fruit. Among the crowd walked a man named Victor Langford. If you read business magazines or financial blogs, you probably know the name already. Victor wasn't just wealthy, he was the kind of millionaire who loved making a show of his wealth. Designer suit even on a hot day, sunglasses that cost more than most people's rent, and a confidence so loud that people could sense it before they even turned around to look. Victor wasn't at the market to shop. He was bored. He had just closed a huge deal that morning, one that made him even richer, and now he wanted entertainment. His version of entertainment, however, wasn't exactly kind. He liked teasing people who looked like they were struggling. He liked imposing challenges with money just to watch people fail. It made him feel powerful, in control, untouchable. As Victor strolled through the market, sipping an iced drink prepared for him by his personal assistant, his eyes landed on a young woman standing beside a small portable table. She couldn't have been older than 20. She was selling handmade keychains and small travel-sized notebooks with floral designs on the cover. Her clothes were simple, her hair tied back neatly, and despite the heat and noise of the market, her posture was calm and focused. She wasn't shouting at customers or waving products at people. She just stood there quietly, smiling gently at anyone who glanced her way, and that quiet confidence irritated Victor. He slowed his steps, waved his assistant away, and walked toward the young woman. Her name, he soon learned, was Elise. She smiled politely and said hello, offering one of her handmade notebooks. Victor smirked and said, "How much for this?" She answered softly, $10, sir." Victor laughed, a short, sharp laugh meant to draw attention. A few people nearby turned to look. That was exactly what he loved. He liked an audience. $10, he said loudly. "For this little thing? Why should I pay that much?" Elise didn't flinch. She replied, "Because it's handmade, sir. And because I spent time and love making each one." Her voice wasn't defensive. It was gentle. That made Victor's smirk widen, but he wasn't done. He leaned in slightly, his sunglasses catching the sunlight, and said, "Tell you what. How about a little challenge instead?" Elise blinked curiously, still calm. "What kind of challenge?" Victor straightened up, raising his voice so the small crowd growing around them could hear. "I'll give you $5,000, if you can speak French." People gasped. A few even laughed. A couple of teenagers pulled out their phones, sensing entertainment. Victor loved it. He felt the energy, the attention, the anticipation, and he soaked it in like he was born for it. But Elise didn't laugh, and she didn't look intimidated. Instead, she set the notebook down gently, brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear, and said, "And if I can?" Victor chuckled, waving the thick wad of cash he'd pulled from his wallet, deliberately and dramatically. "If you can, you walk away with all of this. Right here, right now." Someone in the crowd whispered, "She probably can't even order food in French." The crowd snickered, but Elise didn't react to any of it. She simply looked at Victor with a soft expression, almost like she was studying him. Then she took a breath, lifted her chin slightly, and opened her mouth, and what came out made Victor freeze completely. She began speaking in fluent, elegant French, not broken, not hesitant, but smooth like a native speaker. Her words flowed with perfect rhythm and accent, a melody in motion. She wasn't just speaking French. She was speaking it beautifully. People around them gasped again, but this time not in amusement, in awe. Now, Victor had expected maybe a word or two, something clumsy and amusing. But Elise spoke confidently, clearly, and with an unmistakable authenticity that made him swallow hard. His smirk vanished. His eyebrows lifted. For the first time that day, he didn't know what to say. After a full sentence, Elise paused, looked him in the eyes, and continued in English, "I believe that's enough, sir." Victor was stunned. His jaw tightened slightly, but he still couldn't form words quickly enough. His ego, the thing he protected like a fortress, cracked visibly in front of everyone. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Dude, she won. Pay up." Another person laughed, "You challenged the wrong one." Victor slowly cleared his throat and tried to regain composure. "You speak French?" Elise smiled faintly. "Yes. My mother was French. She taught me since I was young." Her answer wasn't smug or taunting. It was just truthful. And that made it sting even more. Victor's face grew tense. Giving away $5,000? To someone selling $10 notebooks? In front of a crowd filming every second? It felt like swallowing nails, but he had made the challenge publicly. His voice had carried across the market. And everyone heard it. Victor slowly reached out and placed the money on her table. The crowd cheered, clapped, and even laughed joyfully. But Elise didn't grab the money. She didn't squeal or celebrate. She simply placed her hand over it gently and said, "Thank you, sir." Her calmness made Victor even more uncomfortable, but before he could walk away, Elise added something that made the moment unforgettable. She looked at him and said softly, "You know, some people learn languages to chase opportunities. Others learn because they have no choice. Not everything is a game for entertainment." Victor froze again. Her words weren't loud. They weren't harsh. But they went straight to his core. A few people in the crowd murmured, understanding the meaning instantly. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the challenge. It wasn't even about the French. It was about dignity. Victor felt something he hadn't felt in years, embarrassment, not because she humiliated him, but because she held herself with more class and grace than he had ever shown. Despite having far less in material wealth. He tried to speak, but his voice came out strained. "I didn't mean," Elise shook her head gently. "It's all right, sir. But next time, maybe don't assume someone's worth based on where they're standing." A painful silence hung in the air before Victor finally turned and walked away, the crowd parting around him like a wave. His steps were stiff, awkward, and completely stripped of the arrogance he'd carried minutes earlier, but the story didn't end there. As the crowd slowly dispersed, a woman who had been watching stepped closer to Elise. She was well-dressed, professional, with a warm but commanding presence. She introduced herself as Claire Dubois, hiring manager for a major international publishing company. She handed Elise a business card and said, "That French you spoke, it was remarkable. And your notebooks, they're beautiful. We're actually looking for someone who understands both language and storytelling. Someone with creativity and culture. How would you feel about coming in for an interview?" Elise looked stunned. "Me? Really?" Claire nodded. "Your talent deserves a bigger stage." Elise held the card with trembling fingers. For the first time that day, her eyes glistened with emotions she had kept hidden, hope, relief, and maybe even disbelief. What Victor had meant as a joke, what he had meant as a show of superiority, ended up leading Elise to an opportunity she never expected. She later attended the interview, shared her story, showcased her designs, and even spoke in French again when asked, and yes, she got the job. Her handmade notebooks soon became popular items in her new company's gift line. She began earning enough to support herself comfortably. She eventually opened her own online shop. Her life changed entirely, all because she stayed calm, believed in her worth, and refused to let someone else define her value. As for Victor, when the videos went viral, because of course they did, he faced heavy criticism. People online mocked his arrogance. Some even called it the most expensive laugh of his life. At first he was furious, but then something unexpected happened. He reflected. He apologized publicly, and he even reached out to Elise privately, asking if they could meet again so he could say sorry in person. Elise agreed. They met at a small cafe, and Victor, without cameras, without an audience, listened as Elise told him about her life, her mother, and the struggles she'd been facing quietly. And for once, Victor didn't talk. He truly listened. By the end of their conversation, Victor admitted, "You taught me something that day, something money couldn't buy." Elise smiled kindly. "We all have lessons to learn." After that day, Victor changed the way he interacted with people. He donated quietly to local artists and small vendors. He stopped using his money to embarrass people. He learned how to be human again. So in the end, the millionaire who tried to make someone feel small ended up being the one who grew, and Elise, the quiet girl selling notebooks, walked away not just with $5,000, but with dignity, opportunity, and a new beginning. And that, everyone, is why you should never underestimate anyone. You never know someone's story. You never know their skills. And sometimes the people the world overlooks are the ones carrying the most extraordinary strength inside them. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness, humility, and respect go farther than any challenge thrown around for fun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.